righty. Hello, everyone. It's Donelle McAdams, and today we're going to learn some more things that we can do with our heart templates that are not just straight hearts, I guess is the best way to say it. So it's not exactly intended to be a complete class. I'm going to show you and tell you what I did. I'm sure that you could mimic it if you wanted to, but I have prepared my background. So let me get this out of here. And so I have prepared a background that we are then going to put hearts in our what I call background fills using the hearts. So what I did first is I made my heart that's going to end up getting appliqued. So I'm going to show it to you this way so you can see. And I started out with 2.5-inch strips. So I stitched together a white strip with red, a red, white with red, and a red. I stitched together a 10.5-inch strip. You could go 12 just to be safe. So that was stitched together, and these were strips. Then I pressed my seams. Then I cut them in 2.5-inch. And then every other one got flipped the opposite way. And I just put them back together so that I had what you would commonly call a 16 patch. It's 4 by 4. And then I made the circle here. This was an 8.5-inch. So I just made my circle so that it was an 8.5-inch circle. And I cut it in half. So I used my two different colors and I attached it at the top. Now you'll notice that on the back, I have a fusible. It's just laying there right now, and it's not as large as my heart. It's just a little bit smaller. You can see here and here, it's kind of moved. I'll figure that out when I get ready to use it. But then I just placed that on my background and kind of rough drew in around there with my marker so that I knew where I didn't really need to be doing any of my background fills. So that is going to end up right in there. So let's look at this background fill. I've already done half of it, and I'm going to show you how to do the other half. Now your heart template set comes with 6 different sizes. I'm going to be using the 1-inch and the 2-inch today. The 2-inch will be used in our border out here. So I'm going to move this off. I've already added my outer borders. This is not even where I'm talking about quilting at this point. The quilting I'm going to do is in here. And this is where I started. I started at the bottom. And as you can see, I measured where there would have been a heart and placed a little mark so that when I got up here, I was still in my pattern. Now I'm going to be doing a stitch over this line right here, a decorative stitch, after I'm finished. So let's just say we just went up this heart line. I'm going to pull up my bobbin thread. And pull my thread out. Did I get it? Nope, I don't think there we go. Now I'm going to get that off to the side here. That's way longer than I need. And I'm going to put my needle back down. Because what I'm going to do is I am doing these 2 inches apart. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2-inch wide ruler here, lay it on my stitching line, and I have prepared my fabric by spray starching it. So all of my lines are going to come off. This is a Fix-On marker. And since I need to go a little farther, I'm going to turn it this way and line that up. Now, I would have probably drawn all those lines in, but I didn't want to have so many lines in here. I was confusing you. Now, what we need to do is to get over to this spot right here. So I can either take my ruler, use my spacing gauge, or better yet, I like to use the straightaway tool by Donelle McAdams because I don't have to do any extra measuring. I'm just going to line that up right there, line that line on my top line, and just go right across here. Because remember, I said I'm going to be stitching a decorative stitch in red over what I've got here. So I'm just going to come right down there. Got one more stitch to go. And then this stitch, because it's not holding anything in and it's going to get stitched over, I can just pull those threads and cut them. Now, this is a heart right here. That's the top of that. And I'm putting this ruler right on top to get myself started here in the right way. Because this first one coming down is kind of tricky. That's where I want the bottom of my 1-inch heart. So I'm going to take this in here, and that's the way the heart would set. But that line right there needs to be on that bottom. So that means I need to come down that distance, which I know is 1/4 of an inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to take this ruler and I'm just going to come down 1/4 of an inch. So now when I set this in here, that line is lined up with that line, so I can make my heart half. Whoa, I went the wrong way. Oh my goodness. Well, it's a design, but it wouldn't work. Let me just tell you that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this. I need to be right back up here. Do you see my design that's coming down there? I can't believe I did it. First thing, made a mistake. It's a cool design because I've done it before. But what I'm going to do, rather than take the time to tie all those and whatever, I'm just going to rip the whole thing out. You can tell I was not paying attention to that one. I will say I'm using my Top Stitch 90 needle. I am using glide thread today, and I am using white on the back. Even though my backing is red, I sure don't want little red dots peeking up at me. Because you're never probably going to be able to get that tension balanced exactly so the top doesn't show on the bottom or the bottom doesn't show on the top. All right. Just got this little spot to get out of there. Got to get my memory in focus here. We're just going to start right back up there at the top, pull that thread up. So we'll have control of both. And I'm going to come down that 1/4 of an inch. And we're lined up across here. And what I'm going to do is come back up to that spot because we need to be ready to go down. So there we are. And the way we know how much to go down is we want to be, let's get this back out of the way here. In fact, we'll cut it off. We want to be so that the top of the heart is right even here. So just when we're getting started, like I said, I want you to get the hang of this. We're going to take this, and that is the top of the heart. So again, that means we're going to be coming a 1/4 inch past that. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to come down a 1/4 of an inch, because this is where it stops. We're going to go around and back. Around and stop. And then now we're just coming down this line, because this is inside and under where we're actually going to have an applique over the top of it. So there would be no real use in going ahead and figuring all of that out. So now that you can see this down part here, let me come down a little bit farther. What I'm going to do is right here at the bottom, that's going to be the bottom of a heart. And I'm going to move this up here. And once we get going on this, this will all start to fall into place. So if I have a heart here and nothing here, I want a heart over here. So I'm simply, that's my first one. I'm going to take the lowest point here. You can see it's right there. And I am going to stitch to that. I'm going to take this, and I am going to be coming a 1/4 inch below that spot right there, because that's where looks like I need to come just a little bit farther. And then I'm going to come down to the bottom here. And you can see we've got our angles going there. Now I'm coming over 2 inches. So here's where we're going to. So there's 1 inch, 2 inches. So I'm putting that right in front of that needle, right on that line, and I'll know where to stop. So now the first thing, this will be just like when we get started, okay, because I did the center. So the first thing is a heart. So right at this point, before I do that, I'm going to draw that 2 inch line. Put you guys up just a little higher. Now, while I was doing this, I was planning so that it would come out so that the hearts ended close to the edge down here. So you can see I've got it so it'll be close to the edge down there. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw this line. And now we'll get that 1-inch heart. You could always use different sizes. We have to do one side twice in order for it to end up back where we can move on. Otherwise, we'd have straight lines through our hearts all the time. And now this is going to go up to that spot, no, to the bottom right here. So we are going to take that right to that spot. And I'm going to measure that so that you'll know what it is. I want to say it's 1.25 inches. Yes. So we're going to there. We're going to take our heart. We're going to come in here and go our, so from here, there's a 1/2 inch, there's 1 inch, there's 1/4. And the reason it's 1.25 inches is because the difference, this is actually 1 inch, but the difference is that dip in the heart. So if you're wondering why it's that way, that's your answer. Now, we are up into the heart area where the other heart's going to go. You can see our diagonal developing here. So I'm just lining it up back there and stitching a straight line. Always make sure you don't have any of your backing. Yesterday I got my backing caught on that other side. Okay, now we got to do our figuring again. So we are going to line up with the bottom of that heart. So we're going to get it, boy, I couldn't be any better than that. I lucked out on that one, you guys. Some of you may have used my background fills before. They're larger than this. But this is a takeoff of that idea. There's my 1.25 inches. Get it straight. This should line up right across there. It looks like I got maybe one more stitch. And then we're going to go and line that edge right there across the line at the back. So we stop right on that line. And then we're going to go 2 inches over. So I'm going to line that up because I've already drawn it. Went a little too far. There we go. Now, we need a heart that the top of it is right across here, but that means we got a little bit of something that's got to go in there. So what I'm going to do is the bottom I want right lined up here. This is where this can be a little tricky at the top because you can't just take your heart and put it in there. Now in this case, that's going to look pretty good right there, but I do not want stitching out beyond this line right there. So I've got to stitch over to the side. So I'm lining up this line with that mark that I made. And I'm just going to stitch over to there so that now I can stitch down. Stitch up to that line and stitch back. And now I have filled in that space. So now this gets a straight line until right here. And then it's 1/4 inch below that. So I think that means it's 1.25 inches, which would be right here. Yep. So there, that line there is below here. Go just a smidge more so that when I do my heart coming down, now you could always come clear back down to the bottom and go up again. So you can see we're across from here. I need to get my ruler stickers out, don't I? We're right across from there, which means I need to come down 1/4. This is going to look so much better when I get all of that off of there, all those lines. But I didn't want to erase them because it's obviously they're all guidelines. Okay, so I'm going to stop because right there's where the edge of the heart would be. And I need to figure out where we are this way and work our way back. Okay, so it looks like that should be a heart. So we need to come a quarter more. Looks like it's all going to be hidden anyway, but nevertheless. Looks like I'm a little off, but I can get this back on here. I just got to do some thinking here. Especially since that heart was in the position that it's in, because this shouldn't be a heart touching again right here. So we're going to come down a little bit more. So that's going to have a little greater distance there. Sometimes you got to pull your fabric just a little bit to get it exactly where you want it. So now we're coming down to the line. And we're going to go over to the next line. And this will be our last line up. And of course, we start with a heart. So I'm going to get my ruler sticker out so I don't have to keep looking at this. If you've never used ruler stickers, this is what they look like. So now all I have to do is line that up. Line her up again. Just remember, when you're going up, you start at the bottom of the heart. And when you're coming down, you start at the top of the heart. And you can see our diagonal across there. Always forget, I don't have to do that one twice. Oops, there we go. Don't have to do it. Well, I'm forgetting every time, aren't I? Almost there. Whoa. Because I've gone over those stitches, those couple that I messed up there, I'll just be able to take them out because those others were done twice. I don't know if you even saw it right there. I can just take those out because this was done twice. And I'm just coming up to that spot right there. And just to secure them in place, I'm going to go side to side just a little bit because remember, I'm doing a decorative stitch over that. So you can see how I filled that in, how we started in the middle here and worked our way out, and we've got our angles of our stitches going that way. All right. Now I think just because of the fact that I'm showing you the ruler work, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I did this. And I drew another line a ½ inch out, and I found the center. And then I measured every 3 inches so that I would know where my hearts need to hit. And you'll notice here on the corner, I have made that, it's actually a half and then another half with it rotated so I could hit that spot. So let's just come right back down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change to my red thread. I'm using a 2-inch heart. That's pretty bad, you guys. I don't know what red thread I used. There we go. I've been doing several Valentine's projects, and I've got a couple of reds laid out here. Okay. So make sure I get my pens out of my way here. And because I stopped right there and was taking it out, I'm going to start a couple of stitches back. Pull up that bobbin thread so I can tie it later. Put that foot back down in that very same spot. Okay, now I'm at the actual spot where I want my heart. So I'm going to be using these templates together. Now I'm going to go ahead and raise my foot and put this thread underneath there because I don't want it getting caught. Which is not the easiest thing to do, to get it underneath there. There we go. That wasn't bad at all. All right. All right. So now I'm going to use my scallop template. And I'm going to stop. Yeah, right there. It's lined up perfectly. So it finished right on that line. Now I'm going to tell you a little hint about doing hearts. When you're working to the right, start on the right side so that when you do this and then you flip it over, you'll come back and cross. You'll notice on this one, they meet just fine. But by starting on the left and then doing the right, you're not crossing, you're just meeting. So when I put this one in here and I do this heart, when I come back around from this direction to move on, I'm actually crossing. So it makes a better meetup. Now, I haven't drawn them on this side yet, so let me show you how that's going to work. We're going to take this ruler. We're going to use the 1/2 inch mark to draw down here. And then every 3 inches, I'm putting a mark because that's where I need to hit. And I'm going to make one right there because this is the one that we're making that rounded scallop. So we're going to put this on the diagonal. You can see that line through there. And we're just coming right down into that. And now we're ready to go this way. First with the heart, moving to the right, stitch on the right. Lay this back out. Line this up because that's where we want to stop, right there. Whoa, I got my template upside down. I don't care how good you are, you got to have that stable tape. So it looks like my thread frayed. Oh, yay. Not going to be hard to pull this out with it frayed. All the way from back there. Oh, well. When you're doing this, make sure that you don't catch a thread you don't want to come up. Like those heart threads are fine. So I wonder what the purpose of having not the purpose, but the reason that happened. So what I'm going to do is take a look at my bobbin first. Let's go back here and take a peek. It looks like it is just fine. Always put your foot up when you rethread. So that those tension discs open. Well, hope it was just a fluke. I didn't see any kitty cats back there playing, so I don't think that was it. Well, now it's wrapped around the needle. Take two. Right here, pull up the thread. To be tied later. It looks a lot better. And since I'm here, let me just show you how I tie my threads. I'm going to take this and just make a loop of it and pull the tails through. Here's my little scissors. Get some of this off of here. I guess I got one back there to do too. So make a loop and pull the tails through, but don't tighten it down yet. I'm going to take my needle and put it right in the point where I want it to go. And that's leaving it a little bit away from the surface of the fabric. And now I'm going underneath. Now make sure, since I've got a red thread, that you get it completely into the batting. And you can see I just pulled that down through there. Now, because I got another one back here, I'm going to show you that again. So I'm going to take this and leave myself 6 to 8 inches. Make a loop and pull it through. Hold that loop, put the needle through the opening and right to that point, and then let go of it. And then mine are side threading needles, and so they very easily thread. And I'm going right back beside where I put that knot and bury that thread. And now I can just pull on it, and that's gone. I pull up and snip my threads. Okay, we're ready for a heart. Yeah, we are. Where did I put my heart template? There it is. It fell off. Remember, we're moving right, so we do the right side first. They come together much easier that way. Make sure I don't have anything overlapping back there. There's my spot to come down in. I'm right on the line, right side first. Now I need to draw a little bit more here. Because I certainly do depend on these lines. So this is a 1/2 inch from my stitched, or from my drawn line. And then every 3 inches, which right here, there's 1, 2, 3. Get things nice and flat again. So what I'm showing you right here, I want you to see, I want to get right to that middle, because that's the middle of where my heart's going to be. So I'm just going to move it just a little bit. When I say move it, I'm just kind of pulling my fabric a little bit more. So I got right to that center. Moving right, so we were starting on the right. This is one of those that it's another reason to have a nice big sew study table to work with, so that you can keep things moving and flowing, I guess is the best way to say it. Sounds like everything's falling. Notice how when I pull this just a little bit, I get this lined up back to exactly where it's supposed to be. And when I say that, I'm just kind of convincing the fabric where it's supposed to be. Okay, let's see what we got here. So down here, we've already got our line, but I don't have the 1/2 inch line out here. So we're going to go 3. So that will be there and there. All right. So I'm going to go and turn the corner, and then I'm going to stop because I want to show you a couple of other things. But I want you to be able to see a corner turn again. So we're lining this up. See how that matches right there. And I'm going to do my heart. We're coming back around. And this is the time we do that on the angle because I want to stop right there. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to stop at the top of that hill. That makes it much easier to then get right back down into that spot. So you can see that makes a better looking half circle or whatever you want to call it. So we're lined up. Perfect. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to leave my threads long so I'll be able to tie them. So I'm simply going to go ahead and pull them to the top by raising this and pulling away and coming back to that very same spot. Put my needle back down and pull up my bobbin thread. So now I got my bobbin thread coming to the top. I'm going to leave it long enough that I can tie it later. Cut my needle thread So I've got both of those up there. So now I want to point out a couple of other things before we move on to that heart in the center. And that is this particular fabric that I used for my red had a direction to it. So you can see on the back, I've got that direction going. So what I did is I cut these pieces going across the grain and these border pieces going with the grain. So that now when I do this, or when I put these on here, this grain follows the way it should. Okay. Now I'm just going to turn this over so you can see what the back of it looks like. Now remember, in the center is where our heart's going to go. But isn't that cool? I just love how that works. Got a thread there I need to trim. But if you wanted to, obviously you could have done that whole inside. I just didn't want to take the time when my heart's going to be going in there. So now what the plan is with the heart is, as I said, I have cut a piece of my fusible fleece because this is going to kind of pad that heart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change back to my regular foot. I'm going to leave the threads the same. But I'm going to change back to my regular foot and do a decorative stitch. There it is. I was going to say, where did it go? Got that nice big drawer down there so I can keep my feet nice and handy. All right. And as usual, hit unthreaded. Now what my plan is after I applique this to the back, I'm going to do a ruler work template in the lobes of this heart. So that will go through everything. So I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to select a decorative stitch. And I don't want one that is too awful busy. Just because, first of all, I don't need that. Second of all, I don't want to take all of that time. So let's see what we get here. We've got so many options. I'm going to use the same one in all of it. I think I'm going to use this one right here. So I will be doing these 4 lines and then the ones that go the other way. Oh yeah, I love this. Okay. Now you may be wondering why I'm not putting this on and doing it through all the layers. You'll get the same effect without it, and you'll get a little bit more pop by doing it this way than if you went through all of the layers. Now, of course, you can do whatever you want here. You could do every row different, some white, some red. I just want to show you what it's going to look like. I'm not going to take the time to do the whole thing. So I'm just guiding right over the seam. When I get to the bottom here, I'm just going to cut it because that's going to get stitched over. And you can see what my stitch looks like. It's amazing how much firmer this feels just by adding those stitches. I may use that very same stitch as my stitch that's going on the outline. I don't know. I had at first thought I would use like an X stitch, like X's and O's for Valentine's Day. We'll just have to see. But just a little bit of information while I am doing this. You can make these hearts in any size you want. I just happen to use 2.5-inch strips. Obviously, you can make them much smaller. And when you end up with your square, whatever this square is, side to side, is the size of the circle that you need to make. And honestly, I just use my circles on quilts to size it up. And then I drew that half circle. You could have both of these the same color if you want. You can make this right like this, put a backing on it, stitch it all the way around, flip it through, and make this as just like, this could be just like a little, well, a miniature placemat or a candle mat or whatever you wanted it for. Yes, you could use your walking foot if you wanted to. I haven't seen that that's really necessary for what we're doing right here. I leave my Sew Steady mat on all the time. Right now, it's just causing my fabric to just glide right over that. I said I wasn't going to do all of them, and I'm not. I'm just going to show you how it looks with a couple of those going the other way. I'll also tell you that when I did my heart and made my half circle, this didn't match up exactly, but I just rounded it off. I doubt that any of you noticed that. This just gives this so much more character by adding some decorative stitches here. And my fusible fleece, the fusible side right there, will then hold on to that while I stitch around the outer edge. Okay, I'll do the other lines later, but look how that looks when you get that all stitched that way. Now, when I start to applique this, you'll notice that this is overlapping here. So I will start under here and go all the way around and come back and come all the way into that right there. Because when you're doing this like I was doing, adding on this, it's just pretty difficult to get that to work out exactly right. I suppose I could have stopped there and turned it under and all of that. But after looking at the situation, I felt it was going to be easier to just do it the way I just explained to you, is to start underneath there and then move on. So all of these stitches here that I'm cutting are going to get stitched over when I do that coming down across there. And as I said, when I get this completely appliqued, my intentions are I'm going to use a Spinifex template and do something in this top heart here with ruler work. So let's look back here. This heart is going to be laying in the center here. I'll get that all in place and applique down. I'll finish my border around the outer edge. And then I'm not really sure what I'm going to do out in this edge here. This is going to be, this will be my bound edge coming up here. So I still have this area, it only overlap 1/4 of an inch. I was way aggressive there. But that's just giving you an idea how you can do background fills with templates you already own. Create a fun border with those hearts that's not hard to do at all. And I mapped this all out on paper before I started so that I knew I was going to end up with the right amount of inches to be able to do these hearts so they start and stop in the right place. So in this case, it was 18 from here to here. So I added the 1/2 inch out here so that I could then have this piece coming around, and these hearts did not touch. So you can map that out on graph paper. Graph paper is going to be your best friend for all of this. So again, I will be stitching. I can go ahead and start that so that you'll see it here before we go. So right here in this center, I'm going to start. And this row right here is where I have some stitching, some not stitching. And so that's what I want to go around. Let me see if I have an X stitch. It's always fun when you got a lot of decorative stitches, but then you got to see what you got. I can't imagine that I wouldn't have. This one looks like it would be good. So here we go. It's kind of the curly cues, kind of giving you a little bit of the heart flavor on this instead of an X stitch. But I think this is what's fun about doing projects like this, where you can mix your decorative stitches with your ruler work stitches. Can you see that coming out back there in the back? Let me stop here so I can. That's what it looks like. And that's serving two purposes. It's giving you a framework, but it's also covering up where I have stitches and no stitches, and nobody will know the difference after I press it off of there. I did not use a batting in this. I used fusible fleece. I use a lot of Pellon 987F. It's fusible on one side, and it allows you to have a little bit more firmness. Almost all of my pieces travel with me, and they travel a whole lot better with the Pellon fleece than they do with the batting. Now, where do I want to stop? It's not at this line, it's this line out here. So I just want to make sure I've got my eye on the goal here. This can be a little bit tricky, so I'm going to slow down here. And I'm actually going to backstitch. And it's only going to go a few stitches back just so that it's kind of locked. And then I'm going to cut that stitch, because I don't want to have something sticking out. I want to start right down this line again. So I'm going to select the stitch again so it starts in the same position. So I hope you like that little project, giving you some ideas on how you can use your heart templates. You may never have used that 1-inch heart. It's going to be the perfect size for my cornerstone. I'll put the 1-inch heart in the cornerstone for sure. Oh yeah, that corner came out just fine. Try go far enough so you can see it. So I'll stop here so I can turn it for you, so you can see that corner back there. This will get cut off. And that really adds just a little bit of, I don't know, kind of frou-frou-ness maybe to, and goes kind of with our little curls up there. So I hope you've enjoyed the project and you've learned something with this. And so until I see you again, thanks for joining us today here on Sew Steady.
Hi, Donelle.
Hey.
Well, I was going to say, I wanted to mention to everyone that we do have our Deal Day 20 offer happening right now still. So if you are wanting to get the hearts on discount, you can use that promotional code, and you can even have it sent to a store near you to get free shipping. And that's on the Society page. And it looks like we do have an Australian, or not Australian, we have our Canada reseller, Stitch in the Ditch, offering something similar. So definitely look into that option through Stitch in the Ditch. The other idea that I saw that I loved on this live was the opportunity to potentially use that new artisan circle template that we put in our club boxes, because it has that fun heart built in. As well as the easy measuring guide, so you can do the straight lines. And I thought that would be a fun way too, if you don't already have hearts, so you could try using that for your background. It's not going to be quite so small. Those are cute little tiny hearts you've got there.
Yep.
I love it.
I'll try maybe use that on this heart here, where I'm going to put a template.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Well, I love this project. I know what I saw out there was that everyone else was loving it too. So thank you so much for sharing that with everyone today. That's going to be an awesome table topper. And we'll look forward to having you join us again tomorrow, where you're going to be showing off the actual project that's in the boxes, which if you're a club member, you would have hopefully got your box now. We have a few more boxes to send out, but that's for the log cabin 4D panel, which is in all of the boxes, as well as you're going to be showing how to turn that into something fun, a little project with that panel. So thank you so much for all the amazing education you provide, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.